we all worry, I think most of us at least worry, about climate change. And if we don't worry about it, we're made to feel that we should. Problem. The percentage of the increase in carbon dioxide emissions since 2007 accounted for by China is more than half. The percentage accounted for by the United States is zero. The percentage accounted for by Europe is zero because the emissions of CO2 in the United States and in Europe have actually gone down since 2007. After China, next up is India, which is something like 20% of the total, and then the Middle East. So the real question in the climate change debate should be not what are we going to do, because we're doing it. The question is, what are we going to do to constrain China? Because the Chinese say one thing and do another.
Yeah.
They say, we're committed to green technology. We're going to invest in solar. We're going to have electric cars. And people in the West go, oh, how wonderful. Marvelous. Well done, China. What they don't notice is that at the same time, China is building a new coal-burning power station every week.
They have more coal-fired capacity under construction in China today than Australia has in its entire grid.
Exactly.
It's extraordinary.
So that's the reality.
Yeah.
All the debates about climate change, from my vantage point, are just virtue signaling unless we get to the question, what do we do to make China and India rein in their CO2 emissions? Because whatever we do, the planet's in trouble if they carry on like this. And they show no sign of reducing this. I mean, the trend line is absolutely clear. It's steeply upwards from bottom left to top right of the chart. So that's the issue. And that's a problem for China two ways. One, at some point, people are going to notice that this is it. This is the issue. Two, they have their own environmental
They certainly do.
Reasons to worry.
Yes.
Elizabeth Economy at the Council on Foreign Relations some years ago published a devastating book on the environmental costs of China's breakneck growth. And by the way, that's a familiar story because communist parties tend to cause environmental disaster when they do high-speed industrialization. The Soviet Union did it too. If you have at the core of your economy a lawless one-party state with a substantial state-owned enterprise sector, there will be environmental degradation on a massive scale. And human health will suffer, the environment will suffer, the planet will suffer. These are China's problems.
Where do you see the climate change debate going in Europe?
Well, I think it's not just in Europe, but in the world that this debate is happening, and I think it's important that it happens. I live in Northern California. As we speak, there is a massive wildfire raging in Sonoma County that will soon send, if it hasn't already, smoke through the air towards where I live with our two small boys. If climate change isn't affecting you yet, the way it's affecting us, I can't remember when we last had rain. It's gonna. So let's not pretend there isn't an issue here. And in some parts of the world, the issue is really grave. And I fully expect there to be a deterioration that will affect some parts of Asia a great deal more severely than we're being affected. Rising water levels seem highly likely. Now, there's a science of climate change, which is extremely difficult to do, and there's an economics of climate change, which involves estimating probabilities and trying to attach appropriate insurance premia. And I'm a believer in insurance. That's why I have fire insurance. And in the end, climate change implies insurance. You know, we got to assume that something bad could happen. We don't know quite how bad, because we can really not be sure about something as complex as the Earth's climate. But we need to have some kind of credible insurance policy against that disaster for the sake of people living in low-lying cities close to the sea in different parts of the world. Okay, that's the problem. Now let's have a reasoned debate about what that insurance premium should be, what steps rather we should take to mitigate these risks. You go first, Greta Thunberg. And Greta Thunberg, who now leads a kind of youthful rebellion, says, you politicians are destroying our future. The world is about to end. This is not just a disaster, it's a crime. the accusatory finger is pointed, and the world's media, by and large, echoes that message uncritically. Bjorn Lomborg, another Scandinavian, comes along and says, you know what? Speaking as an economist, I can see ways that we could do this well, and I can see ways that we could do this badly. If we do it badly, and we actually cause economic growth to stop or even go negative, we're not going to have the resources available for effective mitigation. There's a way in which you could actually get this wrong. Now, what do the other side say then? Do they say, that's interesting, can we look at your numbers? No. That's not what they say. They say, you are a denier, you are an evil person, and you should be boycotted, ostracized, and shamed.
He has been in Australia by a university.
So we have a problem here, which is that there isn't a real debate going on. There is virtue signaling and reputation destruction, and a great deal of heat and very little light.